I'm an imperfect human being and I shouldn't have a, saying that, but I'm just kind of like, it's not like he's tempting another imperfect human being. You know what I mean? Like, this being is in a human body, but he's perfect. He knows everything. I'm just always blown away when I hear about that account. I'm like, wow, really? So although we cannot see Satan, his influence is powerful and very pervasive. We see that. We see when you try to talk to people or just in conversation, not necessarily talking about the Bible, just making commentary, like, did you see that? Blah, blah, blah. And people, like, some people seem like they don't even see it. Like, it's very blatant and they are looking at you like you're out of your mind. Like, what are you even talking about? What do you mean? Like, I've had so many conversations, and as you guys already know, I get a little annoyed sometimes, because I'm like, okay, it's getting really, really serious. And it's so much going on and you still don't see it, even though I know that this is what prophecy is, that people are not, it's in the Bible. It's still, I think through to my imperfection, I still get a little frustrated with people, because even though it's in their face, they still seem like, I'm not gonna acknowledge this. I can't acknowledge this. And it's kind of sad. But there's not a lot we can really do. All we can do is we can share what we do know through the Holy Spirit, through our Father. And I don't really know. We gotta let God be God. I don't really know what else we could possibly do, because it's already said in the Bible, there are going to be people that are just never going to see it. They're just never going to see it. So Paul understood this, reminding Christians that you once walked according to the course of this world. Okay, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience. And this is in Ephesians 2:2. So the result of the devil's influence is that before conversion, our focus is on gratifying the cravings of our sinful nature and following its desires and all its thoughts. And that's Ephesians 2:3. So notice again, just notice again that Paul calls Satan the prince of the power of the air, as the spirit working in disobedient humanity. So what does this mean? Evidently, Satan is responsible for a spiritual broadcast. Now look at that. Satan is responsible for a spiritual broadcast of sorts to which human minds are attuned. Are attuned. So I'm going to stop there for a second. So recently, very recently, I forgot what state it was in, and I haven't really looked deep into the story. There was a gentleman that went up to a church and they were streaming the service, and he exhibited some very interesting behavior, but he had a gun. And he pulled the gun on the pastor of that particular church. And the pastor, at first, as the story broke, he talked about, and then the guy that was obviously filming it, helping, and then there was another gentleman on the stage while the pastor was preaching. And the pastor, in the update that I saw, and is still, developing, he started to cry actually at one point, because he said while he was doing it, his 14-year-old daughter was sitting there while this man did this. And he said the man smiled at him. He smiled at him. He said something about a taco. I don't know the lingo, meaning I guess he didn't catch that bullet or whatever. And he told somebody that God told him to do it. God told him to do it. And then we have other people. Now we know in the Bible it says, thou shalt not kill. So God, what God? It's got to be lowercase g God, because it's not God. If God is telling us in the Bible, the real, true creator, thou shalt not kill, that God, because God is God, he don't need you to go around killing people. But if it's the other God with lowercase g, he'll tell you anything, So people are hearing things, seeing things, and doing things based on those thoughts, that seemingly come out of nowhere, Okay, but it's a source to it. It's a reason for everything. Okay, there's cause and effect. Okay, nothing just enters your mind. It's coming from somewhere. So I'm a strong believer of these spiritual broadcasts. Okay, from the God lowercase g is sending out to people who are unfortunately attuned to this frequency, okay, that he's sending out, and they're picking up stuff, and that's why we're seeing all the things that we're seeing. Okay, so just as the air around us is saturated with TV and radio signals, and because we have all these devices and we have all this 5G, and at times I could just hear the air just humming. It's just humming, and I can hear it in my ear. It's humming. So you just think about that. What is that doing to the human brain? Okay, and if someone was very nefarious, they could actually send all kind of signals. If they're sending signals and things are bouncing off towers and all of that, and gateways, which is another interesting word, gateway, to these devices so that they work. And sending information, I mean, when you really sit and think about it, would it be that far of a stretch if someone wanted to send you a message? Okay, they could do it. They could definitely do it, because our body is made up of electrical pulses and impulses, if you will, to receive stuff within our body so that our body can operate appropriately. Okay, firing off the neurons in your brain. Okay, so if someone wanted to disrupt that, they could. So we have all these devices tuned in with receivers, and it says that it is also saturated with Satan's spiritual broadcast of selfish and rebellious moods and attitudes to which our minds sadly are very receptive. Okay, that's why a lot of people will tell you, okay, stay prayed up. Okay, just like that song that I like by Tasha Cobbs. What is it called? Overflowing your spirit. You have to be overflowing with the Holy Spirit. Okay, because if you leave something open and empty, something else is going to fill it. And you got to be careful, you got to be vigilant, and you have to stay prayed up. That's just the bottom line. So the devil thereby spiritually influences humanity in order to reject, okay, God and his law. That's what we've learned thus far. Okay, under this influence, writes Paul, and the sinful nature is always hostile to God. It never did obey God's laws, and it never will. That's why those who are still under the control of their sinful nature can never actually please God. And that's found in Romans 8:7 and 8. So when separated from God, okay, man chooses to go his own way with very devastating results, because they've taken God out of this society, out of school, out of everything. Although there are people like ourselves, okay, people who are still out there, okay, who God, through his Holy Spirit, has lifted the veil, okay, and this slowly but surely revealing this spirit of deception that has had us all just blinded. Okay, so under Satan's influence, humanity has rejected God's revelation and guidance and built societies and whole civilizations on wrong foundations. But as we already know, it will not be forever, and we will learn things that will change, okay, all of this. So I want to invite you guys to come back and check out this podcast when we look at the final chapter of this, which is entitled The Fall of Satan's Kingdom. just listening to Teachable Moments with April podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. We invite you to stay connected